Hello and welcome to another weekly live stream where we write bugs into Mythruna in real time and you guys watch and we talk about it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I got a lot to get done today. There's my superheroes and heroes rolling down there in the lower left. Those are the patrons. Help me keep the lights on for my Hetzner server and my other servers. This is sort of the evolution of what we were working on last week. So this is the app that sort of tracks the random NPCs that I've created, and I've added a bunch of features to it. So now it, like, I think it was color coding the buildings before, I don't know, but I've added some things, like instead of just the the craftsmen who have the blue buildings as their workshops, and the pink warehouses where they go and they pick up their stuff. There's now taverns, which is another place they can eat lunch. And then there's there's this government office, and there's one more role type. So there's the 14 craftsmen that get generated for each of these workshops, and then there's 4 clerks. They get there super early in the morning to be at the warehouse when everybody shows up to pick up their materials, and then when sometime after that they all collect at the government offices right here, and finish out their day there. So it's pretty interesting to watch them all tick around. Like some of them have to get up really early, like the clerks have to get up especially early. There's some, so Lev, Bonefron, and Lyman Elmona in this current randomization have to get up before 4:30 in order to, because they live way down here, and so they have to walk all the way up to one of these warehouses up here to do their clerking job. Pretty sure those are both clerks. We'll actually see in a second. Let me so they'll do their little morning routine, which we can zoom in on if we want to. We can watch them. So how I simulate wandering is they wander from one corner of the area they'd wander to another, because a player would never see this. We're too far away for a player to see. There are no players on this map at this moment, so everything is just the game keeping track of where everybody would be should the player come into view. That's what we'll be working on today, actually implementing those different layers. Keeping track of when the town is active. So we'll add some UI elements here to make the town active and inactive, visible and invisible, that kind of thing. I've marked the library because I have this idea of making sure that the town can handle buildings that get constructed over time. So when this first loads, I'm going to, at some point, not tonight, but I'm going to strip this down to the ground, when the prototype loads, and then with each new day, add a layer or whatever to make sure that that's working, because even when we can't see even when we are not in the town, we might be able to see the town, because in Mythruna, you can see towns that are, 2.5 to 3 kilometers away. And if that town was, building stuff, that means that there'd be occasional modifications. And so even from really far away, you might see a tower going up or a new building happening, from a mountain far away. So I need to make sure that a certain amount of the AI of the town still operates. So that'll be like the lowest level of detail. And we'll get into that, because anyway, I like watching the little guys walk around. I spend way too much time watching these guys walk around. We can see, what do we say? Lev, Bonefron. Yeah, so Lev is actually a clerk, and Lyman is a craftsman who is going to get materials shortly after Lev gets there to clerk. And we can run time forward by 5 minutes, and we can watch these guys. That was the other thing I added, this status thing, and then if you hover over the different places, it shows you where they are. I kind of want to do the same thing for buildings, because I get lost in the buildings, and I did end up labeling like the houses. So you can come in here and you can see, oh, this is Hamarachi Moore's house, and you can find him over here and figure out where he is in the world. So Hamarachi Moore he's heading up here. So he's going to go up and collect his materials. Anyway, you can watch these guys go through their day and see which place they go for lunch and stuff like that, because that's random. And I did simplify how the schedules are created quite a bit. So this is how a craftsman's schedule is created. At current, you have to run them midnight to midnight. So sleep starts at midnight, but it ends at midnight too. So it's one event that spans midnight. So sleep starts at midnight, and then the morning is that takes them 20 minutes plus or minus 10 minutes to get ready in the morning. Then they have their get materials, which they have to be there 8 o'clock. And so what this does is it automatically works out that, if they have to be there at 8 o'clock and it takes them, X minutes to walk there from where their home is, then that means that the morning ritual, them getting ready in the morning, has to start at a certain time, and that's so they can sleep up until then. And that's how we figure out that one guy had to get up at 4:17. At midnight, they all get up for a snack. Yeah, no, it doesn't get up. It just knows that it's the same action, and so it ticks over, and they just stay asleep. But anyway, so the scheduling is sort of smart. If you leave these things loose, it'll figure out when the start and end times. It's not perfect. I still have to fix some things. Like I tried to... The clerks tend to spend a long time at dinner, and so I tried to get rid of their fixed bedtime, so that essentially when they go to bed could be as early as it needed to be to make all the other stuff fit. But as it is, if I do that, then other things break, because it ends up with a lot of timeless things in a row, and it doesn't know how to allocate the time to all the different... anything with just a duration means that's the minimum duration. It can expand. And so what happens now is, when they get off work at 5 o'clock, they go to dinner. That's an expandable time. This is a fixed time. They are supposed to be in bed at 10 o'clock. And so it works backwards from there, and it ends up allocating all the extra time to dinner, which isn't really realistic. And so sometimes they end up going to bed really late, even though that's just because they took 2 hours, 2.5 hours of dinner. One thing I am a little concerned about is when you watch the NPCs walk around like this, the days tick over really fast. And so I've been going back and forth on whether I should double the length of a day. Right now, a day is 24 minutes in our time. A minute is an hour. I never did get a light for myself. I'm super dark. So, a minute is an hour in-game. A minute of our time is an hour in-game. Things like Oblivion use 2 minutes. Or an hour. 2 minutes is an hour. And I was tempted to do that, but then I actually... because these guys, when they go to lunch, they have to breeze into lunch and breeze back out again. And they only have when we say they get 30 minutes plus or minus 5 for lunch, that's 30 seconds. So they got to breeze in, eat, and leave from a me watching them perspective. And so these get busy for about a minute, then they clear out. But I'm thinking, I'm sort of creating. For one thing, the nice thing about a rapid day-night cycle is you never have to wait long for a particular thing. If you want to be doing something at night, you don't have to wait long. If you want to do something during the day, you don't have to wait long. And similarly, if you're trying to meet up with one of these guys at their workshop, you don't really have to wait long. They're there, 10 hours of the day almost, and so that's 10 minutes of the day. There's only 14 minutes that they're not there, which means they're about to be there wherever you are. In 5 minutes, 6 minutes, they're about to be there. And so I'm on the fence about it. It could just be that right now I'm sort of arbitrarily picking jobs and schedules based on, sort of imagine what a craftsman's schedule would be. But in reality, when I worry about how this looks in the game, I may pick different parameters for this. I may decide that they just spend longer in the shop and they have longer lunches and things like that, just to make it work better as a game. I do like the fact that they break for lunch. I do want to have the ability to have them eat lunch at work sometimes. And the other thing is there's a whole bunch of other buildings in this town, and there's no families. So in a real town, there'd be apprentices, and you could leave your apprentice there to take orders while you go to lunch. And You could have your apprentice go get the materials in the morning while the craftsman, sets up the shop and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of different things to do. Right now I've only got the 2 roles because I wanted to make sure I could have 2 roles. And I wanted a role that had 2 different work locations. The next thing will be people that have 2 different jobs. For example, there may be people who only work part-time. They may only work at the tavern for the dinner time rush or the lunchtime rush, and then they may garden or something like that. And so they'll have 2 separate jobs, whereas everybody right now has 1 job. And so I need to think of, at some point I need to add some NPC types that have a couple different jobs. Maybe one is responsible for, going and maintaining the graveyards around town or something like that. And some of them are responsible for maintaining the buildings or building new construction, that kind of thing. But I've got enough to test what I need to test, and we have a very lively town, and they're all heading back to work after lunch. All these are all the clerks. And so if we dive into here, they're not animated or anything. They're just standing there on top of each other, slowly working through their day. And so that's what I was saying before. If you watch, so they have this idea of a wander. There's no work action, so I just implemented like a general wander action, and it's not wandering because this is the far away. There's no reason to calculate a wander, and so right now there's like a min location and a max location, and so they just move from the min location to the max location, which for me as a person debugging is useful when I'm using this app because I can see how far they are visually through their current task. Whereas I can go here and I can also see, like, Lev is the classic. I get really used to the names, and then I change something about how they're generated, and of course all the names change because they're based on a seed. So every time I run, it should be the same. But as soon as I change, how the seed is used, eventually I'll add some stability. Like right now, every person is generated on their own, so they'll generate their name, they'll generate their work, they'll generate where they go to lunch, where they go to dinner. Where eventually their schedules will be generated separate from their names, and so then this should stabilize. Because as it is, if I change one little thing, like if I change how lunch location is calculated, then all the names get changed. Or the first name will stay, whatever the first name will stay the same, and everybody else's name will change because the way the random number generator works is it starts a random number generator on a seed, a particular seed, and then every number you get is going to be the same as the last time you ran with that particular seed. But if I use up random numbers for some other part of the process, then later random numbers are different, that kind of thing. And so if I'm generating this person and use up 50 random numbers to do that before I get to the next guy, he gets the same fixed 50 random numbers that he did the previous run. But if I change this guy to take 51 random numbers, then suddenly he's got all different random numbers now. And so then the names will change, and what they look like will change, etc., etc. So I started this a little bit yesterday and had a bunch of stuff to take care of. And then today, I had like a surprise. Thought I was going to have to take one of my kids to the emergency room situation that resolved itself. But then we had some other errands to run. So as usual, as the vacation wraps up and I want to like really drill in, I've got other things to take care of. So I go back to work on a day job on Monday. All right, so, and this is all live reloaded still, so it takes a lot longer to reload now because there's so much script, and I haven't moved to Java code yet. So it's got to redo that all the time. So like this entire file is very, very long now. So it's got all the buildings, it's got the town loading, the town, layout, making sure all these are in the right place, picking out which buildings are what, and then it's got all the action stuff of what those mean. It's got the it's got how they calculate the lunch spots, which is basically so this is how, like, here you can see kind of, oh no, I haven't moved that up yet, but yeah, so when a schedule is being created, there's this schedule target, which is specific towards a particular NPC, and so when that NPC is set up, some variables are set, like where they work, where their home is, and then some things are like generated on the fly. So these lunch spots will take where they work. So when something asks for, hey, where's their lunch spot, it will use this generator to decide, well, let's find something probable near where they work, kind of thing. And here's another one. The dinner spots are find something probable near the line between where they work and where their home is, because they're going to be walking home. And then so that's what the schedule target is. So it's gotten quite advanced since last week. And what I want to have happen is the option that these schedules, the specifics about which lunch spot they use, etc., to be picked kind of per day, so that every day the specific schedule will be regenerated, and so like the lunch spot and the dinner spot would be regenerated. And potentially their work site, if they were the kind of person that hopped from building, like the guy who goes around and the guys who go around and maintain, the buildings of the town and stuff, or do construction, they might pick different sites for different days. It might be that different days of week they do different things. I want to have, as a test, I think I have this airport here. I want to have like an airship fly in, twice a week or something. Fly in the evening, have some workers come and unload the stuff, and then have them leave again and not come back for a few days, just to simulate multi-day activities. Plus, I also have to figure out how to handle, ships and things. Okay, I can't sleep, so I'll hang out for a bit. Okay, hey, thanks, Max. So that'll be good, because that'll be managed separate from the town, but needs to sync up with the town. So these are all things that are like fundamental building blocks to having a world that looks like it's alive. And so this is a really nice prototype for that. So yeah, the airship will tell me a few things. One thing, the airship will be managed on its own, separate from the town, and its schedule needs to sync up with the town, in the sense that when it gets here on a particular day, that maybe sets a variable in the town that says, okay, well, the schedules need to change for that day. Because you don't want to have like the whole world revolve around one giant schedule. If that airship gets delayed and doesn't come till the next day, you don't want the town running through the things it would have done. So you need to have the town's schedule be dependent on the fact that the airship came that night before or something. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. So they run through their little activities, and I watch them quite frequently, and it ends up wasting a lot of my time, but I learn things. So what I'm trying to do is codify the whole idea of the settlement. And so a settlement will go through a few different states, and I think I forgot one. I'm look over here at my notes. Yeah, how did I decide? Okay, so settlement, if it's loaded at all, it's visible. Oops. I only put that there so I'd know where to go. So that's the state. If the settlement is loaded at all, it's visible. Yeah, so let's just add some notes here. If the settlement... I really should have picked a better word. I have trouble typing settlement consistently. If the settlement is loaded and in memory, then it is visible by something. And is minimally managed. This is separate from activated, which is when a player is near enough that they might see something. In Mythruna, when you start to approach a town and it has the little pop-up at the bottom that says, you're entering Brunswick or whatever, or you're nearing Brunswick, that's when the town activates. That's when I currently create the single town NPC. And that is the point where we would activate the settlement. We would activate it, and then it would be sort of actually setting up the schedules for the NPCs and things. From far away, we don't have to have the NPCs run through all their little things. Just being able to see the town 2 kilometers away, we don't have to actually have the people walk around. Nobody's going to see them. Nobody's going to see the direct effects of anything they do. If they build a building, we want to see the building update from far away. That's fine. And so on. Like if a player was there, it's the same thing. the game already handles that kind of thing. We just have to have the town do that modification, but we don't have to have all the people walking around making that modification happen. And so that's the different things. And I was just getting into that sort of last night, and I never got back to it this morning to sort of manage this. So we need to be able to set it visible and invisible. And so right now, I don't know that we're going to get there, because the thing right now is, I'm hard coding the settlements. In reality, there's a whole world generator where we would load the town info, and probably a lot of this, a lot of the stuff I'm calculating would be pre-generated as part of the town, because real town layouts would not just be a bunch of random buildings that I then reverse engineer to figure out what they are. They would have generated for a reason, and they would have a layout. Oh, that's the other thing, is I added simple pathfinding. So yeah, I should talk about that. So really rudimentary pathfinding when the town is loaded, and then this is another thing that would be pre-built into the town. What I'm trying to do is find the place where I can turn on the visualization of the road graph. So you probably noticed that when they were navigating the streets, when they were navigating the town, they were navigating down these yellow streets, because they know right now everything is sort of dumb. It just puts a street between every building, and then these red ones are the paths from the intersections into the buildings, and so that's part of the path. They start in a building, they navigate some, using A star. If they were going from here to here, they figure out they need to go here, and then start on a red line, end on a red line, sort of thing. And then I added this little park here just so that the library would sort of connect, because it's not on the grid. In the game, I added the library separately, so it's not on the grid with the rest of the town, so it didn't really follow the pattern. But in reality, probably this road network gets generated at the same time as the town, when the town is generated for real, because there'll be external roads that come in, and those would be the main roads of the town, and then they would all sprout from there. Whereas this is a completely random town, with sort of some minimum restrictions. It must have an airport, that kind of thing. But anyway, I thought it was kind of cool to have the pathfinding so they don't just walk through the buildings to get to where they need to go. Plus it let me, again, minimum capabilities, it let me sort of work out how that kind of pathfinding would build into the schedules, because that's part of their schedule, those loose paths. And so each level of detail for an NPC would be similar. Like they've got, right now, as soon as the town is active, they have these the town keeps sort of track of where they are, even if the player can't see them. And then if there's a player in view, their AI has different levels of detail. So any of these NPCs that are green, so this red guy is supposed to be a player, and so any of these green guys are NPCs that the player can actually see. They've got to be fully animated, real physical characters, walking through every little bit of what they do. These guys in yellow have to be fully AI, so that's when the real AI takes over. So the town is just giving them goals at that point, and then they have to work. So if there's a wander, there's a real wander, and so on. They can do some things at a lower level of detail, so they don't actually have to have physical objects. They do, though, and they don't have to work through specific animations. Like if they had like a little wander between like a 2-meter thing, technically we don't need to show that. We could just have them sit. But anything that happens that might bring them across one of these sort of zone thresholds, that we'd have to actually animate that. But anything outside this zone, any of these gray guys, we keep track of them notionally, so that if the player moves in range, and we know that they need to be activated. But other than that, we don't need to specifically make them wander. We don't need to have them pathfind locally and stuff. But all these guys need to be AI managed and fully found and all that other stuff. So that's what we're going to play with today. Right now, the fact that we can even see these guys is technically incorrect. And so we may make it so that only the little circles show up when they're outside of this area where they can be seen. so that we can see the different levels of detail. What I wanted to do was have these guys be animated, but I didn't get the animation hooked up. It's not something I can just plug in directly from Mythruna because it requires networking to be in place the way that Mythruna does it. And we don't have networking here, we're just a simple little prototype app. So anyway, this is where I was. I was about to add the external stuff to set visibility. And, you know, actually you can't, right? Because as soon as we, this implies visibility, so this is a no op right now. What this would really do is when we say set visible true, it would have to load it from storage, prep it for farthest LOD processing. No NPCs, just town limits. And yeah, if it was a airship, we'd still move the airship around. So I say settlement, but a settlement includes like big mobile things like airships and sea vessels and stuff. Anything that would have one or more people that need to be managed or have some autonomy in the world. And so we need to keep track here of what's activated and what's deactivated, because we have this activate, deactivate. And so I think what I'm going to do it could be that active settlements get a different that active settlements get a different frequency of update than inactive settlements do. Right, because an inactive settlement, I could technically get away with just updating it once an hour or so. Like if a building's being built, I probably don't need to keep track of the minute by minute block structure changes, minute by minute of our time. And so I could do like every hour I could do an update. I also don't have to update all of the towns in the same, you know, clock tick. I can spread those over several clock ticks. So probably, you know, there's a difference between inactive settlements and active settlements, right? And so we'll change those. So when we set the settlement, initially it will be inactive. Oops, I can't spell correctly. And if no matter what it was, we will remove it from active settlements and inactive settlements. But it starts out inactive, and then if active settlements, let me set up a logger. Inside the classes I don't get the ability to use the logger from the script logger factory. Boy, when I am talking, I can really not code at the same time. Construction, will you be adding urban sprawl, demolishing of older buildings, and real estate speculation? No. But if you destroy, like if something comes in and destroys the, you know, all the guard towers or destroys some buildings, you know, from far away you'll see that destruction, but the town will seek to get back to its balance, and so its default mode would be to try to rebuild those things that got destroyed. And so you might see those. Or if you as a player do something in the town that if you as a player do something in the town, like you through some series of quests mean that town didn't have a library and is going to build a library, or you bought a plot and you let the town build the house there, then you might look back every now and then and see, oh yeah, my house is getting built, and so there will be town construction, but it's generally going to be as an effective things the player did, or after effects of things the player did. You know, if you did something that caused the whole town to burn down or whatever, even if you didn't do it, mean it, or that kind of thing. It contains. So if the active settlement's already so first we have to get the settlement. Settlement. Boy, that is a really weird word to type constantly. I get really good at it by the time I'm done. If settlement equals null, throw do. So I think, Max, was it you that was asking me about the town AI and what if it gets really out of balance? The spreadsheets we were talking about. So I had more thoughts on that. I just wasn't sure if it was you that was talking about that. Like if the player gets the town really out of balance and they're way off the town schedule in the spreadsheets. Yeah. So the whole idea, and this sort of touches on rebuilding the buildings. The whole idea is that the town operates in a state of equilibrium within the squishiness that I've defined in the world. So they may make too many tools, or they may not make enough tools, or they may have too much wood or not enough wood, but within some small margin. And then it's assumed that the town as a unit is in balance, but there's some amount of trade that happens to fill in the small deficits they have and to get rid of the small surpluses they have. But within that, they seek the equilibrium. And the reason they seek equilibrium is because then I can ignore them. I do not need to track their day-to-day activity at all. Like the game engine can ignore them. When their spreadsheet's balanced, they can be completely ignored. So when you go into the town and you screw up a bunch of stuff, the game is going to try to use whatever GOP logic or anything else to get that town back into balance, because then it can ignore it again. Without that, once a day or so, it needs to tick over and see, has the smithy been rebuilt? Has the guard tower been rebuilt? Okay, now that that's all done and we're back to balance and we've reestablished our trade routes or whatever, we rebuilt the airport so the merchants can come and go, all that other stuff. Once it's done those large scale movements to get back into within, plus or minus some fraction of their surplus or deficits. Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. So the towns themselves will generate in balance. And so then only you send them out of balance, and then that's the only time I need to take care of rebalancing them. And their rebalancing may be just a new status quo. Like if you come and you decimate if you kill half the town and burn half the buildings down, it could be that the new status quo for that town is just to be half the size it used to be, and that's fine as long as all the spreadsheets balance again, plus or minus, the surplus and deficits that I feel like could just be made up from trade routes. But so it will always seek to get them back into balance, because then I can ignore the town again. Yeah, because if you kill like half the people in the town, there's nobody there to build houses for. There's no reason to have those houses. This is all part of the spreadsheet, right? The deficits and the surpluses, and trying to rebalance that to get it back within some threshold. No settlement. So hopefully that explains a little better what my thinking on that was. I wasn't explaining it very good last time. So no settlement. Alright, so contains. So we'll just log this as a warning. Log warn. Settlement already active. So it's fine, and then we return because we don't need to do anything. Otherwise, we inactive settlements remove, active settlements add, and then settlement activate. Activate. I spelled it correctly. Whee! But yeah, I spent a lot. I've spent decades now thinking about how to manage the life simulation of a whole world. You know, initially, obviously, players haven't actually been to the places yet. They don't even generate until the player gets close enough to see them. But still, like that whole idea, it's like Minecraft, if you like nothing happens unless at least back when I played anyway. Like nothing happens unless you're close enough to the town for the ticks to happen. So you may put a farm down or whatever. If you walk 1,000 miles away, that farm is not going to keep growing unless you're nearby. So I very much wanted the world to live and proceed as if you weren't there, because it feels more alive. Like if you were chased by a dragon or something and the dragon killed half the town, it's not your fault, but now that town is not useful to you because half of it's been destroyed. And so you move on to go travel around the world, and maybe you get on a ship and go, around the whole continent or whatever, and then eventually, some months later you come back there, and it's not just frozen in time from when you left. They proceeded and they tried to rebuild as best they could and become a town that functions, or they died out and you come back and you find out that there's nobody there at all anymore, that they never recovered, that kind of thing. I feel like that makes the world feel really alive. And it's the whole immersive gameplay idea is all about that, right? You set up all these little systems that interplay in tiny little ways so that if you push on it, things happen, right? Things cascade away and different things happen, like the fact that maybe this town was the primary supplier of gold or silver for the next town over, and now they don't have gold or silver anymore. They can't be the preeminent jewelry manufacturer anymore, or stuff like that. Your little ripple effects that make the world feel more alive and lead to potentially story and adventure that otherwise wouldn't have happened, right? Okay, so almost exactly here we need to do the reverse. If we... all that's the same settlement already inactive. Inactive settlements contains... but I think I'm going to always remove it from inactive just in case, and then always remove it from active just in case. So already inactive settlements contains that. So otherwise we add it to, so we remove it from active, we add it to active, and we deactivate. Okay, so that is the basic state if I haven't done something that makes it not compile. Uh-oh. No property settlements for... oh, crap. Yes, of course. Okay. I didn't change the name of that one. So we'll just update the active settlements. Probably we'll need to update the inactive ones too. Yeah, and for now, I'm just gonna just always push them both through. But this is the one where, for an inactive settlement, I technically could do it less often, like once per day. In fact, let's do that. Let's add that. Let's say it only happens once per day. So int day equals world time dot get total days. Is that what it's called? Total game days. Oh, and it's a double. Okay, so if day is not a day is greater than last game day, then we last game day equals day. and we'll log info. Updating inactive settlements. Alright, so that should take care of the basic state. Yeah, right now I still have this sched system, which we're going to get rid of, because essentially the town itself is going to have its active schedules. And yeah, so man, this Pepsi's sucking down way too fast today. So here we will have active schedules. This is not the real way it's going to be. There's going to be maybe one more layer of indirection, but actually I'm going to do a real loop here because I'm trying to get this to the point where I can just cut and paste it over to Java code, because this that is one thing. There's a lot of this code that's stable enough to move to Java code, and then this would load a lot faster if that wasn't all in script. Like all this visual stuff I've done could technically be moved over to Java code if I had a way to do that just for the tool. But this code that's actually game code, as soon as I figure out a package for it, I can put it in real Java code. Okay, then this should be schedule, update, and in fact, why don't we fix active schedule to use this class as its update thing? So yeah, so we can just fix this. Oh no, I'll fix that later. I don't want to get bogged down too much, and so this is going to be world time and time of day. Right? World time and time of day. Okay, that's not going to actually do anything yet, so I can just see if it compiles or if I broke something. Alright. So we have all those guys. Boolean active equals false. Active equals true. I'm just going to log for now. In fact, I'll steal this logger and log. Oh yeah, probably want to know our entity ID. And for now, I'm just going to set the schedules directly. Okay. I was doing something else. Oh yeah, I was logging. Log info. Okay, I think that should still compile. We're about ready to convert over to the... Yeah, see, this is not really how it's going to be. Anyway, one step at a time. Okay, so this, we will no longer need the sched system. Well, I'm going to have to keep it for the time being, just so it gets removed once, because I need this stuff to at least make sure it gets removed once. But I can stop adding it and how did it get its schedules? Sched system. Oh, active schedules like this. Okay. All right. So then we can say last settlement system. What do I call it? Set settlement. And new settlement town. I don't think I did that outside the... See, there's too much stuff in here. It gets too big to... Yeah, it said def town. So we'll just make a town entity. And we'll set town entity equal to... See, eventually this stuff's got to move down to the bottom, and this is where we create the whole town and we add it into the thing. So town entity equals town, so we have the town entity down here. And so if I did this right, we should be getting rid of this old Sched system and replacing it with the new thing. And our NPCs will not be updated yet. Ooh, boy. Well, okay. Something went wrong. But we don't update anything right now because the town is inactive. But there was definitely a... I feel like there was an exception up here somewhere. Maybe? Yep, they're right there. Error reloading. No signature method. Settlement management system set settlement. It's applicable for argument type settlement. Okay. I know it's wrong. We also need to pass this as an argument. All right. All right. So it's not active. And so now we won't see any NPCs. We won't see any AI status because nothing is happening. We need to add a little UI here that activates and deactivates the settlement. So let me see how we do that. There is a player debug state with a player container, and this is how we do it. Player node. This is the wrong thing. It's not the agent debug state. It is... No, maybe I was in the right place. Player debug state. Players. No, this is for the arrows. And what I'm looking for, player sim state. This is the one. And this is... Can we... stick it in here? I don't really want to do that. How best to do this? I kind of don't want to create a whole new app state just for this, but that is the right way. All right. Yeah, let's just steal some of this stuff for the moment. So town, player sim state will replace with town sim. Boink, 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 boink. See, now I get all that infrastructure for free. And And so we'll get rid of most of this, but we still want to know this. Probably I will leave it in there. Alright, so we don't need the world time service. We don't need any of these for now. We do want entity data because I just like to have it everywhere. Initialize doesn't really need to do anything, but we will. Simulated towns. So town container. Yeah. So we'll replace player container with town container. Actually, I don't need any of this stuff. I don't think I really need that other either, but this is what gets... Yeah, I don't need this either. Don't need this. I do need this. I do need that. Yeah, this is the minimum to get a little UI thing set up. So we'll put this right after this. And simulate towns, that's fine. We will add something to our container just as a new label. Hello world. Alright, let's see. Nope. Could not find constructor for town sim state. Oh yeah. Because I gotta get rid of all this crap. Boink. Oh, looked like we had another error. No such property settlements. Oh, I screwed something else up that we missed before. 2490 over here. Yeah, settlement index. Blub 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 blub. Oh, still. No such property entity ID on 2490. Oh, still the same thing. Oh, yeah. Dope. All the typos. All the typos in the world. Okay. Alright, we're getting there. This is at 2557. Okay, there shouldn't... Inactive settlements. No. 25... Why is there a null in there? There should not be a null in there. So let's look at the logs. Why? There shouldn't be anything in there. Nothing's been activated or deactivated. We haven't set a settlement yet. Oh yes, we have. Yeah, yeah, I'm an idiot. We need to remove the old from both, but we need to only add. Yeah. So I'm an idiot. This is a state problem. I had these old ones. I cut and pasted that line to make the inactive one, but yeah. All right. So we should have now gotten. Oh, it did activate the schedules. Huh. Oh, right. We updated once for the day. Sure. But now we're not updating anymore, so there's no actual activity happening. No walkings happening. We're not actually active. We just figured out where they were. That's because there's no... what we want to do is here, if we're not active, we shouldn't have done this either. So if not active, return run a different set of activities. Excuse me. Yeah, so now when we reset, we shouldn't even get these anymore. Yeah, so like we've activated the town, but we haven't activated the town, so there's nothing in it. Excuse me. And so we are set up again where everything's working. We have a simulated towns little section here. Right now there's just the one simulated town, so no big deal. And so we will... How do I want to deal with this? I think... Let's add... I don't want to do this. That may be necessary later, but this is not what I want right now. Entity ID. First of all, let's get the settlement. And do map. Otherwise, return active settlements contains... Oops. Entity ID. And actually, we can say just return false. If you... So loaded just means we've got it. We're actually keeping track of it. If it's active, that means we're loaded, and also it's in the active settlements list. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to say button activate. So we will say container instead of this. Nope. New button activate. And then command, which is going to be activate add click commands. So we actually need the new button up here so that we can set it even when before we've been initialized. We can still do it. Add click commands exec problematic. Let's see. I think we have an add and a remove on button. Add click commands. Remove click commands. What should we do? And command is in the regular package, so we're good. So we need to be able to undo what we did. Alright. So now we have this activate. It's not going to do anything yet. We've got to hook it up. But that is why we take last town sim state. Let's just say also town sim state equals last town sim state. That's fine. I probably could have used that variable name to begin with. And then over here, we will hardwire some things. Last settlement activate command. Actually, this is not a game. So this was town sim state remove activate command. Otherwise, last settle equals town sim state add activate commands. Let's just make sure log info clicky. So we should see when this finally reloads. If it reloads without nope, we got error blank. Let's see. Rutro. Notice property town sim state. Well, that would be correct. So let's try again. Something else is wrong. There's something else wrong too. I may restart. Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. Sure. That'll be a problem that'll only happen that first time. If exec equals null, return. Nope, still we don't like something. Always something. Oh, return value of get click commands is null. Can I invoke? Remove click commands. Oh, it doesn't have any click commands yet. Oh, Yeah, for now I'm just going to remove that. Okay, so we were able to, yeah, so we had a weird state where it was trying to remove, let's see, activate, clicky. Okay, you can see the little clickies coming down here when I click this, clicky. So the button's hooked up. It means we can put actual logic in here that says last settlement system if last settlement system is active town entity else. So deactivate. And we can say b set text deactivate and b set text activate. Alright, so now no errors. I'm concerned that when I said, oh, that's not good, or before, I'm concerned that we're getting a bunch of rigs loaded. I think, but the visualization must have some rigs already loaded, even though we haven't. So I'm gonna stop the app and start it over again, because we may have some like residual state hanging around from a previous run that didn't get cleaned up correctly. Because we really shouldn't see the skinning controls activated until we actually have characters on the screen. No, we're getting software skinning control. Who is loading rigs? How many rigs are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, because we create... Yeah. In reality, the NPCs and stuff won't even be created until the town's created. And so, even though they're not showing up here because they're not actually managed AI yet, oh, well, this is only going to show them if they have status. So the NPCs actually exist. I'm surprised they don't show up. Oh, they do. They're all at the default position. They haven't been given positions. So we have like a bunch of NPCs sitting here on top of each other. Normally they wouldn't be created until the town was activated the first time. Or loaded, rather. That's something I have to move to the town initialization. Alright, so let's reset the camera. Okay, now we should be able to activate, and everybody should jump. Actually, let's make it like the middle of the day before we do it, or right at the beginning of lunch. So we'll say activate, boink. Uh-oh. Settlement already inactive. Then something's backwards. Is active. Active settlements contains. No. How could this... Oh, settlement already... Why am I... If settlement is active... Oh, I have these backwards. If not, settlement is active, activate it. Okay. Okay, so now we should be able to activate... Make all the NPCs go to where they're supposed to. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Boink. Hey, look at that. They're all at lunch or going back to work. Okay, so that part's working. We ought to be able to deactivate the town again. Boink. Uh-oh. Oh. Yeah, so there's something's backwards there. Should be active. Let's, log info is active. Oops. So there's a state problem. Come on, reload. Yeah, so everybody starts out inactive again. Time marches on though. So we activate it. So is active false. Okay. Now we should be able to deactivate. Deactivate. Boink. Is active false. No. Okay, so is active is messing up. Is active. Settlement. Wrong one. Log info is active. Entity ID settlement. Log info active settlements. Alright, so reload. Alright, so activate, boink. Everybody gets activated, or at the right time of day, they're all back at work. I really need to make these blink or something so that they're a little more automatic. Whale. What a name. If you're, if you had last name of Whale, why not name your kid Matic? Actually, I'm assuming it's a male. Alright, so deactivate. Is active. Yep, we have the settlement right there. Did I... Oh, I'm an idiot. It's not the entity ID we're checking for. It's the actual settlement. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just being dumb. Again, this half my brain is gone while I'm on the live stream, so I make a lot of stupid mistakes. Yeah, totally. That's what I'm going to show you. That's what we're going to test. So we activate it. So everybody gets activated. And so they're all at work. So we deactivate. It let us deactivate. Nobody's being updated if I mash time around. Yeah, that's the other thing. I added day-night cycle. So it's the middle of the night. Everybody looks like they're still at work, right? Because that's the last status we have, and we activate it, and boink, now they're all asleep, right? So we left them where they were, and so now they're back to normal. And if we deactivate again and pass time to be like where they all should be heading to get their materials, we can activate again and we see, yep, everybody's getting their materials and doing their thing. So all that's working. Yay. Now the thing we haven't gotten to yet is the individual schedules. So this is where we get into a weird area. So right now, the town, the settlement, is just keeping track of these active schedules. What it really needs to do is keep track of the people, and then the people will have active schedules, and the people may be different levels of active, inactive. Right now we just update everyone with the same level of detail, and that's not correct. And implementing that is part of what I wanted to do tonight, but I'm trying to think of how to visually see that it's happening without animation. because animation would be a clear trigger. When we have a player, so visible, invisible would be one. Like I could make it so that these guys are only circles on the ground unless they're active. Right now they're inactive. I mean, there's no player here to see them, so there really wouldn't ever be visuals. I actually think it's cool with the words, in the middle of the corn stalks. Yeah, so we can like follow these guys around. But see, if they were animated and not animated, so then they could be visual or not visual. Except for if we did it just based on the player's view, they would always be animated. So maybe that's not a good indicator. We could make wander do a real wander if they are. What I'm talking about is, so if we add a simulated player and we move them into range, I want to be able to make sure that the scheduled events are getting, when we created the scheduled event stuff, the active schedules themselves had passive, low, and high, right? I need to figure out how. Actually, could I build the active anyway? I need to build the passive, low, and high calls into here, and I need some indication that they're actually happening. The LOD for the data can be a separate system, working on a separate thread, and that should be working from a larger range to allow NPCs to walk into the player's visual range. Yes, so there's multiple levels here. So okay, the fact that we are even in here with the fact that we could activate and deactivate it means the town was loaded, which means it created all of its NPCs. When we activated it, that put everybody on the schedule. They're not visual to anybody. Everything within this green area, because there's a red player sitting here, right? Everything in this green area can actually be seen by the player. So those are fully animated, fully physical objects. Everything in this yellow area can potentially be seen by the player and can potentially be doing something that affects physics the player can see. And so they are also physical objects. They do not need to be fully animated. So like the agent, driver, and stuff that's managing their physics doesn't technically not need to figure out where their sword is at any given time, for example. Anything outside of this range is just managed by the town. There's no actual AI involved. But everything in this bubble needs to be managed by AI. And there could be multiple players, and this handles that too. Like if we had a player coming in from the south, right? We know that this section of the town is also active, and these guys are just, active but low. There's 3 levels of AI. There's passive, which means nothing can see it. We're not even actually simulating it. There's low, which means it needs to be managed as if it could be seen at any second, but it's not actually seen. And then there's high, which means that the player can actually see them. They need to do their full animations. So, for example, let's say they, so this guy's in here and he's a blacksmith. Because he's in a yellow zone, I need to know he's standing at his anvil, but I don't need to animate all of the things he's doing. I don't need to animate hammer taps, any of that stuff, until this area becomes green. If a player moves, within range, then I need to animate that stuff because potentially the player can see it. But right now, I need to keep track of directly what he's doing. He is a fully AI managed thing with pathfinding and stuff, if that was implemented in this prototype. Because he could step out of this zone for whatever reason as part of his real AI processing. But anyway, so all that's built into here. But to some extent, the game already handles that. But what's not being handled is the town interaction. So the town, even though this NPC is theoretically fully managed by the actual brain AI system that has GOP or whatever, state machine, behavior trees, whatever is doing his job to manage him, grabbing materials and banging on the anvil and all that other stuff. It needs communication with the town. The town needs to periodically send it updates saying, hey, are you still on your daily goal? Because if not, like the player came in, stole their anvil, this guy can't work anymore, then the town needs to know, I need to give him a whole different set of sort of overall events, and he can then do regular AI through that. But the town needs to provide his goals, and the town needs to periodically check in on those goals when they are fully active. So the town, the settlement that we just created, this settlement class, needs to know which of its NPCs are active and which are inactive, because it's going to treat them differently. And right here, the thing that's managing the town's schedule is where that sort of hits the road, because this is where for a given action, actions have like passive, low, and high update methods that can be called on them, and they'll do different things. And so I'm trying to figure out the best way to visualize that. And I think there's really no good way to visualize the difference between low and high right now, because they would both be fully AI managed in the real game, and we don't have the visual distinction, nor may there ever in the near term be any distinction between between low and high. There's going to be definitely difference between passive and low high, but probably for the foreseeable future, low is always going to be wired directly to high. I'll show you what I mean. As it stands, passive is wired to low and high. Low and high are both wired to passive. So this is like the sequence action, right? And in fact, this is bogus. I need to cut and paste. So the an action you can either call the passive, saying, hey, you're 50% through your time, or you're here, the low version, you're 50% through your time, or your high version, you're 50% through your time. And so for something like the wander action, like the low version just interpolates between the minimum and the maximum. So as they're working, they slide from one corner of their workshop to the other. And so this is one where I actually could have low high be wired together, and they actually implement some rudimentary move the thing around randomly in the square instead of just sliding from one end to the other kind of thing. So this is the one thing where we could show a difference. But let's get the difference wired up first, because we won't be able to see it either way. And of course, every time we do that, we're going to have to reactivate and re-add players, but that's okay. I need to think about how does the settlement know? I'm going to have to add a listener. Am I using the real? I am not using the real agent activations. I created one. Like, there's an agent system in the real game, and I created a sim agent system. So we actually do get because I tried to start adding the animations. So there is an agent system. There's no reason for me to keep track of this, though. I can steal this code so this is entity container is one of the SIO2 convenience classes that allows you to interact with the Zeus entity system to manage objects that are associated with a particular entity based on some criteria. So we'll steal this. Oops. And we'll put that in our settlement management system. And instead of an agent driver, what do we want to do here? I think for now, do we even want to hold all these in RAM? Trying to think, maybe we don't do it the most efficient way. It's called LOD. Okay, so we actually don't need the filter. Yeah, see, in reality, I don't care what we do only care about high and low. So let's filters or level high, level low. Oops. And so then we get agent. We don't need shape. Result, we just give it the entity. We update the object. We call this agent. We don't need to call it driver. Okay, I'm trying to code as much as possible. Normally I'd reload a bunch of times, but we have to reset up the simulation every time. So I'm trying to get as much code as possible before we have to do that. So entity. Void set agent type. Okay. So then we would be inefficient and go through all of active or inactive settlements. So let's just go through the values. Values each settlement. So we'll say settlement set agent level entity get ID type get level. And then for here we'll say agent type passive. Oh, level passive, I think. Yep. Okay, so that hooks all this up together. And whenever we activate, or you know, we actually could wait. Okay, so there's another lifecycle thing here, is that when the settlement gets set, if we already have entities, we need to let it know. So we want to say we haven't created the container yet, so let's create the agent container. Yep. Oops. Agents. And then in initialize, get system entity data. This agents equals new agent container ed. I think that we only want to do this on start and stop. Just say agent start tracking, and then stop tracking, and agents equals null. Alright, and so if we activate, and there are agents, if agents not equal to null, then agents dot, do I still have the array? I do. For agent LOD, agents get array, and then we say, probably I should have consolidated this into a single method. Oh yeah. So int level. So probably void set level if stop level equals level return. Set this to -1 so it has an initial bad value. This dot level equals level, and we do this level, and so then here we just say set level type.get level, and in here we say set level agent type passive, so now we've consolidated that at least, and that lets me do this. So when we go through here, we tell this new settlement LOD up entity get ID LOD level. Let's see if that blows up. Oh, it's going to blow up because there's no such method. Yeah, bad news. Bad news, boys. All right. 25. Okay, we had like a compile error, so that's fine. Oh yeah. That's right, I never did. We actually want to do this not on activate, but on loaded or set visible. Okay, so this is where we want to do it. And then we need to implement this method on settlement. So void set agent level, and so this is just going to blast it out to every managed settlement, and if it knows about that one, then it can deal some. But right now I'm just going to log it, log info set agent level entity ID level, because we don't have the hookup to the schedules yet. Let's see if it compiles. No. Oh yeah. Bunches of typos. Sure. Boink, boink, boink. Alright, so something else failed, but it got farther along this time. I should just drag. I should get rid of a whole bunch of this debug. It's all the schedule setup stuff. I can turn that off, but no such property ed. Oh yes, right. It's so like default that I always grab the entity data service that I forget. So yeah. Okay, so that's all working. Let's go ahead and let me add a player first. No. We want to add, we want to activate the town. That didn't work. Oh, something must have failed and I just missed it. Because we're not activating. Okay. Cannot invoke method stop on null object. We're in some kind of... I'm going to start over because we're in a weird... yeah, we're in a weird reset state where one of the previous errors left errors behind that now the next iteration's trying to deal with. Blah 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 blah. Come on, what's taking so long? Alright, oh, we found it. We had an error already. Cool. Somewhere back on here. I saw it breeze by. There we go. Alright. No signature of method filters or is applicable for field filter, field filter. Oh, yes, it needs a... it also needs the class. And it actually may not like that. We'll see. Come on, 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 come on. Yeah, see, the more modules I add, the longer it takes to load that initial load. Alright, so let's run time forward to sometime when things are actually happening, and then we'll activate. All the things are doing their thing, and so nobody is... Right, we haven't activated any agents yet. So we shouldn't have seen this yet. But let's go ahead and get set up to look at those logs. Right, so we got none of those yet, but as soon as we add a player, we should get some. Nope. There we got some. Oh, but so it's only showing the highs. Yeah, it's like backwards. High is 0, low is 1, and passive is 2. So we got those, and if I remove them again, if I remove this player, yeah, it should go back to released. It did not. So that's another thing that's broken. Oh, and this is not showing what I wanted to show. Oh, yes, set settlement. No, it's not. So somehow we missed the... oh yeah, so it's not actually... we're not getting it. This is from something else. So this container is not actually seeing anything. I wonder if temporarily I can just make it see everything. Then we execute our testing. Oh, somebody's making food. Okay, so everybody's doing their thing. We can add a player. And still we did not get the sets. Huh. Yeah, this is one of the quirks of working in Groovy is that it won't let me use the outer log for these inner classes. So I find that I end up putting them everywhere. Info, add object, E. Something in the entity system wiring is messed up. Oh, wait. Oh, I don't need shape info for one thing. That shouldn't have affected it, but I don't need shape info. Oh, there's this. Oh no, that's right. Okay. So let's just look at agent type. And then we can grep agent container Mythruna client log. Okay, so we should have nothing yet. Although we should have had. Okay, yeah, because we've reset all the entities. So we activate the town. And that definitely made... this is frustrating. It's like this container is not even being... Alright. Let's, Why isn't this being... I've done this a million times, so I've just done something dumb is all. Make sure that we're not getting an error somewhere. Like maybe the system itself failed. Doesn't look that way. Nope, we're good there. So we ought to be able to see. We're starting it. Yep. Oh, I know. I'm dumb. Yep, it was something dumb. So it's not enough to have started them. You need to update them periodically. So agents update. I think it's agents update. Yeah, again, it was just a dumb wiring problem. Yeah, so oh, did I already have an update? I already did have an update. We'll do this at the end. No, we'll do it at the beginning in case we have some. So anyway. There we go. Yep, so see, we already had a bunch of existing. Yeah, there we go. So now we should be able to look at settlement. Yeah, so now we see all those. Okay. So now we should see them change when we activate. It shouldn't change, but when we add a player, we should have seen 2 of them change. We did. Settlement, management system. So we set the agent level. That's good. That means I can take out all this crap. I can probably put back this crap. I'm going to leave this for the time being. Let's see if it updates correctly. Oh boy, errors all over the place. Oh, there's an initial error somewhere up here that's causing issues. Crap. Alright, so we're going to have to add a so hopefully we'll see what the error is this time. Yeah, I need to get rid of all this debug because it's taking up too much stuff and we can't see the errors. Cannot invoke method stop on a null object. Okay, that's fine. That was left over from before, but if agents. All right, let's try again. Okay, I didn't see any errors. That's from before. But I think we also somehow screwed up our. Yeah. Alright, let's see. Unfortunately, I think I messed something up. Something it didn't like in here. Maybe. Can't tell because the error got buried. Alright, well, if I can get these agents calling the right method on the schedule, that'll be a good place to stop. But we're getting bogged down in the details, in the wiring, in the warring. Oh, I forgot to ask, did everyone have a good New Year's? Yeah, see there, did we get the real error now? Yay. So the real error would have happened back here. Yep, there it goes. No method of entity criteria set is applicable for argument types null or filter class. Oh, duh. I left the null up here from when I took the filter out. Ugh. See? Dumb stuff. My wife and I actually went to a New Year's Eve party this year for like the first time in like 15 years. yeah, it was kind of cool. And we played music and sang, and it's like, because it's a bunch of my friends from hanging out at open mics. So that was kind of fun. Got to sing for other people. Got to watch other people sing. It was fun. Got to take my wife out. Oops. To get her out of the house every now and then. Oh boy. Okay. Alright. So let's go ahead and activate the town. Alright, everybody's sleeping. Now we'll add a player. Okay. We should have gotten... crap. Okay, no, because... no. Okay. Wait. Get out of the way. No, get out of the way. There we go. Nobody's active, that's why. There we go. Like, none of the NPCs, none of the town denizens happen to be within that area. So, okay, cool, we got activation. Alright. That's working. Which means we can add temporarily... Okay, this is going to be a bit garbage. We're just going to have a set level. This is not how it's really going to work. But because I don't have any kind of, I don't have a real settlement set up with, so normally a settlement would know the the entities of the people that it's got in it, but it doesn't right now. So it's got all this list of active schedules that they know their entity, and so we'll just say if objects equal, if not objects equals ID entity. So if this isn't us, return. See, normally I just have set level without the entity ID, but we're going to have to tell everybody. We're going to blast it out to all the entities. And so then if this level, and actually we'll set this to agent type passive, level passive. And so then down here, where we call the action, switch level, case agent type, level passive. We'll also make that the default. And then we'll say level low, level high, low. Probably I should change this to just pass in the, anyway. Okay, so hopefully that compiles. And then in here, down in the bottom, in the settlement, we would normally do something smarter, but what we're going to do, schedules, as.set level, entity ID level. So we'll blast it out to everybody, and if it's something they'll pay attention to, they'll pay attention to it. And then, yeah, we'll see if that compiles or if I screwed something up. I did, as usual. Active schedule. What line was that? I missed it. 2475. Yeah, see, there's way too many lines in this file. For active schedule, AS schedules. It's acting like there's a missing brace somewhere. Unexpected token, active schedule. Oh, the as. I bet as is a keyword, and yes, it definitely is. Yeah. Okay. 2264. What? Unknown type case. 2264. What? What have I done wrong? Switch level. There's a level. Maybe there's some weird... Anyway, I'm not going to mess with it. Level... Sometimes I can't be bothered, you know. This isn't the real code anyway. Actually, what we want is we want this down here. So sometimes I do this, I rearrange the code and I get rid of the thing that was offending, and then I find out that there was some other error that was making it lose track of where it was, and then I'll find it. Nope, everybody's happy. Okay, so it's gonna so let's make one of these actions do something different for low and high. First of all, I have to cut and paste. So this is why it would be better to just pass the level into the method instead of having a bunch of separate methods. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah. Yeah, so I think when I do this in real code, I'm just going to have one update method that passes the level in, because this is bogus. All right. And so the wander, we could do different things. So for this, we'll just... That's fine. Okay, so this will be interesting. Let's just set... So what we've done is we just unwired the thing, but let me actually instead warp to the start position. So we'll see a difference. So normally the wander action right now doesn't actually do any wandering, right? And rather than implement a whole wander behavior right in here, when it's passive, it interpolates from, you know, the high, the min, and the max of the range that it's supposed to be able to wander around. That's when we get that little diagonal drag across the thing. But what I've done is I've wired it up so it just always puts a start. So when they're passive, they're going to do that little thing, but when they're active and high or low, they're going to jump up to the upper corner. Then we'll at least be able to see that they're working. Okay, so everybody's doing their thing. People are working. So we should, yeah, so we see like some people some of these guys are working and they're in the middle of their thing. And so if I add a player, these guys should jump up to here. Except they didn't. Right? Oh yeah, they did. It's just the angle's wrong. So they jumped up to the upper left corner. And they're not doing the normal drag. But if I move this NPC away, yeah, see, now they're back here. So they're in their normal interpolative path. That's a word, interpolative. Interpolative, yeah. So yeah, so they are doing a different active passive thing. That's cool. So that wiring is working. I unfortunately haven't gotten anywhere near brain, because that's the other interaction between the AI and the thing. But that may have to wait for actual AI behaviors to be implemented. So we do know that it's actually working. I would have liked to have had sort of a wander. Yeah, nothing in here gets a random anymore. Though we could temporarily add a bunch of random. Yeah, maybe let's do that. Let's for visual fun. Oops, Vec 3D. Test lokes. And so equals new. We don't know how long anything's going to be. So we'll just make a bunch. New Vec 3D. Math. Oh, we need a random. So random rand equals new random. Just a random. Rand.next Gaussian. Actually, let's do a temporary random vector. Random loc. And I think actually there's a math Gaussian too. Oops, wrong one. Too many search bars. Too many search bars. Can we... Yep, okay, so we do have to have a random. So we'll pass a random. This will be truly random. It'll be different every time. And so for test lokes, we'll always start at the start. Oh, we need to put this down here. So we'll always start at the start, and then we'll random loc rand a few times, and then we'll end at the end. And so random loc x equals start.x plus end.x minus start.x times rand.next Gaussian. Do this 3 times. Boink, boink, boink. YZ. So we're just creating a random location within that area, but it's using a Gaussian, which means it tends to prefer area in the center. New Vec 3D XYZ. Okay, let's see if that compiles. It's not going to do anything yet. No, so I knew I had like some misspellings and oh boy. Yeah, so I've screwed something up really badly because it's not even compiling. Oh, yeah. Oh, did I really screw something up? Was there other code up here? I don't think so. If there was other code in that method, bad me. I shouldn't have done that. Alright, so we're good there. And so now we can do something different here. Let's see. If we want the index to be the tween times the test locus dot size. See, so when tween is close to 1, it will be close to but never exceed size. Yes, so as long as tween, what we'll do is this is math.max test locus dot size -1 int tween dot size. Okay, so that should always be 0 to 1 less than size. We don't want the min, whatever's smaller. I always do that. I always get those backwards. Okay. And so then right. We actually want the size to be 1 smaller because we don't want to ever consider the last one. The last one is sort of our gap, and so we'll say vec3d v1 equals test locus index, and vec3d v2 equals test locus index plus 1. Okay, so we're figuring out we're in there. Double gap equals test locus dot size 1.0 over test locus dot size. So how big is, anyway. And so then the base of this little gap, basically we're trying to we've got this whole, we're trying to figure out which gap we're between and what the starting time would be if this was 0 to 1. And so, yeah. So then base should be index times gap. And so then t should be tween times gap. Oops. How much space there is between a gap, and then base. Oh, minus base. Sorry. Tween minus base. Because tween is going to be the full 0 to 1. We want to figure out which part of 0 to 1 we're in and divide that by the gap, because we want to expand it to 0 to 1 so that we'll walk the full range between these elements. And so then we can do this, but instead of tween, it'll be v1, v2, and t. I think that works. And so now when they're active, they should randomly walk it back and forth between 5 different points. Okay, let's see, let's activate the town. Okay, the bunch of them are at dinner, so that's okay. So let's add a player and we'll move them into things. Oh, wait, so there's definitely bugs there, because they're just jumping around randomly. I've definitely got... Well, I mean, actually, that's kind of walking around okay. One of them was doing weird stuff. Yeah, so they get outside of the range, they do weird things. So there's definitely something wrong here. Let me think. So index will never be... I think maybe this needs to be size. Between minus the base. Interpolate local between v1 and v2. T. Oh, this should be size minus 1 for one thing. So it could be whenever it was getting near the end, it did crazy things. Okay, so activate, add a player, move the player over. Okay, you know, so there's a weird state they get into where it's bouncing back and forth. But otherwise, you can see they're wandering when they go inside the thing. As soon as they go out, they hit a place where I think that jittering is when their one action says they should be over here and the other action says they should be activated, and so they toggle back and forth between. That's actually something I may have to worry about. Anyway, they're all sleeping now, so let's wake them up. Let's advance time through the morning. There we go. Okay, so now they should get here, and then while they're in the warehouse, he should do random walks around. Yeah, so that's doing a real wanderer behavior. Down here, they're just doing their normal interpolation. Yeah, so all these guys should now do sort of randomly move around the... And he's the clerk, so he's going to do it really slow because he's going to take several hours, whereas these guys will do little fast random walks between their different areas. And now see, you're going outside the... Oh, because they're not getting it from the range. There's usually a... Oh, I bet I also... No? XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. They have a range, and the range has a margin. So really, I should have been getting these random locations from the range. It already had that capability in. See, it already was doing the right thing. So let's go back to wander. Let's fix... I mean, basically what I was wanting to do is working. We just need to do it smarter. So this should have been range... Ah, crap. I forgot the name of the method already again. Get location, of course. Get location, rand... Doink, 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 doink. We don't need this anymore. Alright, let's reset. Come on. I want to see you guys randomly walk around. Activate. Add a player. Boink. Okay, so you guys are randomly walking around. Your clerk. Everybody's at work now. But the clerks are now randomly wandering around. And let's okay, so now we get like maximum, and they should stay inside their building when they're randomly walking around. So this guy should randomly walk around, these guys should randomly walk around. They should do it a lot faster at lunchtime. So let's fast forward to lunchtime. Everybody's working. Let's get them closer to, okay, so now they're going to walk to lunch. And we'll wait till somebody gets to lunch. Earliest person to get to lunch is 12:15, so somebody should be at lunch already. Yeah, him. So he's wandering, random wandering around this little thing, and if I move this guy over, he's no longer randomly wandering, he's just doing straight track. Yeah, so that's what happens here. These guys get, no, there's something weird happening. I think there's something wrong with my math. Because like these guys are random wandering way outside their range. And that's a sign that my interpolation is messed up. Like t somehow gets to be bigger than 1. Like if I math min 1.0 and t equals math.max 0, just to make sure it's clamped, then we shouldn't see them jump out of the thing, at least. Activate add player, boink, 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 boink. Yeah, so they won't come out anymore, but there's something wrong with the math, and I'm not going to worry about it because that's not a real wander behavior, but it's working. Wait, are you still messing up? You are still messing up. You know, I never confirmed that get location actually does the right thing. It could be that it's messing up. Doesn't look to be. But anyway, that's, yeah, because this is now always within bounds, which means that these guys should always be within bounds. And I don't really know why they're not, because this guy is still, who's this? So that is, he's working. He thinks he's working in the office here, but they're not anywhere in that office. So the range is definitely wrong. I wonder if it's just a bad range. Anyway, it's working. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just there's some bug in the random location code. But it's definitely doing different levels of detail. If we had real AI, it would be doing stuff right now. Yeah, I think that probably these location ranges are just off. Although they were working before. I don't know. Or maybe Gaussian goes negative. Does the Gaussian go positive? Maybe it's plus or minus 1. We'll all learn something here. I think that Gaussian is plus or minus 1. Nope. Well, the mean 0, yes, and the standard deviation, so it is plus or minus 1. Shoot. That would explain it. That would explain some other issues I had seen earlier. So this should be, each of these should be 0.5 plus times 0.5 to get it back in the range of 0 to 1. So now we have to redo it. So activate Add player, boink, 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 boink. Ah, there we go. That's what it was. Function I wrote a long time ago was messing up. Oh boy. Why? Oh, somebody again is crossing in and out of a boundary. Yeah, so this is one issue with this low-high passive thing that I may have to deal with. Is we've got something that it's low, puts it inside, but it's high, puts it outside, so it's constantly toggling back and forth. But everybody else is doing what they're supposed to do. You've got a random wander here. And we are nearing dinner time, so if we do this, we ought to see some people go to dinner. Yeah, so here we are. Some people eating at dinner, so they're going to random wander around here. They are going to take a long time to eat dinner too, because again, this is the bug I was talking about. So Ustrika is going to eat dinner until 2100. Yeah, so he's going to eat dinner for two more hours, 2 minutes in game. So that's why he's walking so slow. Lunch is better because they eat really fast and they go home or go back to work. Anyway, it's working. So we have that looking forward to. So yeah. So I got basic level of detail working. So that's kind of cool. No, plus 1.5 because I've multiplied it by 0.5. So if this is -1 to 0, right, and then I multiply it by 0.5, then it becomes -0.5 to plus 0.5, and then I add 0.5, and so now it's 0 to 1. Right? You've got me second guessing myself. No, I'm pretty sure. So this is like dividing by 2, right? So then it ends up to be plus or minus 0.5. We add 0.5, so now it's 0 to 1. Okay, cool. You made me worried about it because I frequently get that sort of thing wrong. But anyway, it's working. And so now I have basic level detail set up, and now when I start integrating the brain, we'll have a place to integrate the brain. Of course, I'll clean a lot of this up. That's probably what we'll work on this coming Friday. So we'll do a live stream. I think it'll be on Friday. I have to see, Friday or Saturday. But yeah, so I'll clean this up and think about how these actions get integrated with some AI system. We'll start figuring out what the AI layer looks like and what I want to keep from the old stuff and what I want to keep from the new stuff. I may think about how to deal with this toggle flashing thing. Partly that's because of the way I've implemented the wander. Actually, if the wander remembered where it was instead of recalculating it every time, so if the passive just did nothing, right, the passive is dragging from here to here, but if the passive already had a value within the range, if it just stopped, then it wouldn't jitter like that because it would just leave it at the last place it was. Though at some point, yeah, so it needs to maybe interpolate from the last place it was. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'll get that cleaned up, and maybe this Friday we can work on the actual, AI parts. How that interface is going to look, what I'm going to be able to keep from the old stuff, what that interface is going to look like, what we're going to be able to pull from the other prototypes where we were doing, low-level pathfinding and stuff like that, and start really hooking this up. Maybe I'll convert a bunch of this to Java classes this week. I don't know. It's my first week back after being out of work for 2.5 weeks, so I'm sure I'm going to be swamped with just catch-up crap. And we're about to enter a planning phase anyway. So anyway, I have a lot of fun just watching these guys run around. If I make some more, if I end up making more jobs, I may put up another video. It's just this working around through a day. I think that's where I'm going to end it today. Oh yeah, I meant to show you guys. So I have this. Yeah, so this is what the little stream control deck looks like, and I've got my little custom icons I put down here to keep track of the stream. So that's kind of cool. And that's when I can go to things like, and I can say, come on. There we go. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I read all the comments. I try to respond to them if there's something I need to respond to. But I definitely appreciate you guys coming out and watching the thing. And I hope you have a productive week. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks a lot.